I watched my husband of 12 years raise his champagne glass, basking in the applause of our guests, and knew this would be our last celebration together. Not that he realized it yet. My name is Alina, and I'd spent the past month planning this promotion party down to the last detail. The crystal glasses caught the evening light perfectly, casting prismatic shadows across our open-concept living room. The catering was immaculate, the guest list carefully curated. Everything had to be perfect, not for Quentin, but for what would come after. "To my beautiful wife," Quentin announced, turning to me with that $1,000,000 smile, "who supported me every step of the way." I smiled back, ignoring the way his mother Sonia's lips tightened at his words. She stood near the marble fireplace I'd picked out 3 years ago, wearing an expression like she'd tasted something sour. "Darling," she cut in, stepping forward, "don't forget to thank the board members who are here tonight. They're the ones who recognized your potential." I took a slow sip of champagne, watching the dynamic play out. 12 years of watching, really. 12 years of being the quiet, supportive wife who gave up her interior design career to support his dreams, who hosted the parties, remembered the birthdays, managed the social calendar that kept him climbing the corporate ladder. "Of course, Mother." Quentin turned away from me, launching into another speech about corporate synergy and future prospects. His sister Stella sidled up to me, designer heels clicking on the hardwood floors. "Quite a spread you've put together, Alina, though I might have gone with the other catering company. You know, the one that did my husband's CEO celebration." "This one suited our budget better," I replied mildly, watching her eyes narrow at the implied financial comparison. The party flowed around us like an orchestrated dance. Quentin's brother Trevor worked the room, probably hunting for job leads. Stella's husband bragged about his latest acquisition. And I kept smiling, topping off glasses, playing the perfect hostess while catching snippets of whispered conversations. "Can't have someone so ordinary representing the family now. Executive position requires a certain image. Time for him to upgrade in all areas." Around 10, as the last board member left, Sonia made her move. She cornered me in the kitchen while I was arranging leftover hors d'oeuvres into containers. "Alina, dear, we need to talk." Her voice dripped with artificial sweetness. "Quentin, come here." My husband appeared, slightly drunk and loose-limbed. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Now that Quentin's made executive vice president, certain changes are necessary, Sonia continued. "The family has discussed this at length. You've been adequate as a wife during his climbing years, but this position requires someone more suited to high society." I set down the container I was holding, very carefully. "I see." "Don't make this difficult," Quentin finally spoke, still looking somewhere over my left shoulder. "We've already found you a nice apartment downtown, 3 months paid rent, very generous severance package." "Severance package?" I repeated, "like I'm being fired from a marriage." "Don't be crude," Sonia snapped. "We expect you to be out by the end of the week. The house will need to be ready for redecorating." I looked around our kitchen, my kitchen, taking in the custom backsplash I'd designed, the high-end appliances I'd researched for months. Then I looked at my husband, this man I'd invested 12 years in, who was now swaying slightly and checking his phone. "When?" I asked quietly. "What?" "When did you start planning this?" Sonia answered for him. "That's irrelevant. What matters is you'll leave quietly, with dignity. Unless you'd prefer we involve lawyers." I felt a smile spread across my face, small, serene, nothing like the screaming they clearly expected. "No need for lawyers. Not yet, anyway." I untied my apron and hung it precisely on its hook. "I'll pack a bag tonight." The relief on their faces was almost comical. Quentin actually looked surprised. He'd clearly expected more of a fight. But then, he'd never really known me, had he? Not really. Not the way my grandmother had, when she'd taught me about protecting myself, about playing the long game. Well, I said, heading for the stairs, I should start packing. Alina, Quentin called after me, a hint of confusion in his voice. You're taking this better than expected. I paused on the third step, looking back at them. Mother and son, standing in my kitchen, already discussing paint colours and renovation plans. Oh, I believe in karma, I said softly, and karma always collects its debts. They laughed, the sound echoing off the imported Italian tiles I'd spent months sourcing. Let them laugh. They had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I packed exactly one suitcase, just enough clothes for a week, my laptop, and the small wooden box my grandmother had given me before she died. Behind me, I could hear Sonia directing the movers she'd already hired to refresh the house. Alina, darling, she called up the stairs, don't forget to leave the spare keys on the counter. I pulled out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Lincoln, I'm ready for that meeting now. Finally, my lawyer replied. I've had the paperwork ready for months. Downstairs, I found Quentin in his home office, already interviewing interior designers. A young woman with perfect highlights was spreading fabric swatches across his desk. I'm heading out, I announced from the doorway. He barely looked up. The apartment keys are on the kitchen counter, 3 months like we discussed. That's generous of you, I said, keeping my voice neutral, using my kitchen counter to leave keys to an apartment I never asked for. That made him look up, confusion flickering across his face. Your kitchen? Alina, don't start being difficult now. Wouldn't dream of it. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, by the way, your mother might want to hold off on hiring contractors, just for a day or two. Before he could respond, I walked out, leaving my house keys on my kitchen counter. I didn't need them anymore. Lincoln's office was exactly as I remembered it, all dark wood and leather, with a view of downtown that my father used to love. He stood as I entered, giving me a quick hug before getting down to business. You've got perfect timing, he said, pulling out a thick folder. The property tax assessment just came in, adds another layer of legitimacy to our calculations. I sat down, opening my grandmother's wooden box. Inside were the original deed to the land, the construction contracts, and, most importantly, the agreement Quentin had signed 3 years ago without reading, too busy with a conference call to do more than scribble his signature where I pointed. How long before they realise? I asked. Lincoln grinned, spreading the documents across his desk. The cease and desist letter will arrive by courier this afternoon. Certified mail, very official. Then we give them 48 hours to respond before filing the formal eviction notice. And they can't fight it? Please, Alina, your grandmother was a genius. The land trust she set up is ironclad. You own the land outright, and that ridiculous temporary transfer of property rights agreement Quentin signed gives you full control of the house too. He leaned back, looking satisfied. They don't have a legal leg to stand on. My phone buzzed. A text from my friend Gianna. Just saw Q's relationship status change to, it's complicated. Want me to do some digging? I showed Lincoln the message. Think it's too soon? For what you've got planned. Perfect timing. Let them dig their own graves first. I texted back, yes, but quietly. The rest of the day passed in a blur of signatures and legal documents. By evening, I was checked into the Four Seasons, not the sad little apartment Quentin had arranged, when my phone exploded with notifications. First Stella, what the hell is this legal notice? Call me immediately. Then Trevor, sis, we need to talk. This isn't cool. Finally, Quentin, my lawyer says this is a joke. Please tell me it's a joke. I turned off my phone and ordered room service instead. The salmon was excellent. The next morning, I met Gianna for coffee. She slid her tablet across the table, showing me a fresh Instagram post. Quentin at last night's charity gala, arm around a willowy blonde, wearing a dress that probably cost us more than that apartment he'd tried to stick me with. Meet Desiree, Gianna said. Influencer, aspiring model, and apparently your replacement. They've been DMing for months. Months, I repeated, sipping my latte. How interesting. Want me to run the story? Not yet. Let's wait for... My phone rang. Lincoln. They're here, he said, sounding amused. All of them. Sonia's threatening to sue everyone in the building. I checked my watch. Right on schedule. Put me on speaker. I heard the click. Then Sonia's voice. Absolutely ridiculous. We'll have your license for this. Hello, Sonia, I said calmly. I assume you've had time to review the property documents? Silence fell. Alina. Quentin's voice shook slightly. What are you doing? Collecting what's mine. You have 48 hours to vacate my property before I file formal eviction proceedings. And yes, mother dearest, this is completely legal. You might want to ask Quentin about that document he signed 3 years ago, the one he was too busy to read. You manipulative little... Sonia began. Goodbye, Sonia. Quentin, do try not to damage anything while moving out. I'll be doing a full inventory. I hung up and looked at Gianna. Now we can start working on that story. 3 years earlier, I stood in what would become our dream home, watching Quentin wave away the contractor's concerns about the foundation plans. Just handle it, he'd said, already walking away with his phone pressed to his ear. My wife deals with all that decorating stuff. The contractor, Mike, turned to me with raised eyebrows. Mrs. Riley, about these modifications. The reinforced foundation stays, I said firmly, remembering my grandmother's words about building on solid ground, both literally and figuratively. And everything gets filed exactly as we discussed. Now, sitting in Gianna's office, I watched her scroll through old photos of the house's construction, every detail documented, every change logged and filed with both the city and my lawyer. This is gold, Gianna said, clicking through the images. Look at this one. Quentin signing papers while on his phone, not even looking. And here's Sonia criticising your choices while you're literally paying for everything. My grandmother's inheritance built that house, I said quietly, every penny documented, every transaction traced. Speaking of traces, Gianna turned her laptop around. Your replacement's been busy. Desiree's Instagram feed filled the screen. Photos of her and Quentin at charity events, private dinners, exclusive clubs, all dated weeks before I'd been thrown out. The latest post showed her wearing a designer dress in my living room, caption reading, New chapter, new home, Saksha blessed. She works fast, I noted. Want to work faster? Gianna's fingers hovered over her keyboard. One anonymous tip to my lifestyle column about a corporate executive's suspicious timeline. Not yet. Let's see how they handle the eviction notice first. My phone buzzed. Lincoln sending updates. The certified letter had been delivered, and Quentin's lawyer was already trying to negotiate. They're offering to buy the land, Lincoln's message read. Lowball offer? Should I laugh now or wait for the meeting? I texted back, let them sweat. Gianna leaned back in her chair. Remember when you first suspected this might happen, right after his first promotion? I did remember. It was during another party, watching Sonia parade potential dates in front of Quentin despite my presence. I'd gone home and called my grandmother that night. Never trust a man who lets his mother shop for your replacement, she'd said, but trust the law and always, always read the fine print. The next day, she'd introduced me to Lincoln. My phone buzzed again. Stella this time. This is ridiculous. Mother's having chest pains from the stress. You need to stop this now. I showed Gianna the message. She snorted. Funny how they only care about stress when it's affecting them. Should have thought about that before they tried to upgrade me, I replied, then forwarded Stella's message to Lincoln. Documentation of harassment? Every little bit helps, he responded. Gianna turned back to her computer. Oh, this is interesting. Desiree just went live on Instagram. Want to watch? We huddled around her screen as Desiree's perfectly made-up face appeared, standing in what used to be my bedroom. Just a little drama with the old house, she was saying, flipping her hair. But Quentin assures me it's nothing to worry about. We're already planning the most amazing renovations, though this awful backsplash has to go immediately. I felt my jaw tighten. I'd designed that backsplash myself, incorporating elements from my grandmother's old home. Save that video, I told Gianna, evidence of attempted property alterations without owner consent. Already downloading, she grinned. Want to see something else interesting? Check out the comments. The live stream was filling with questions. Whose house was it before? Didn't Quentin just get divorced? Wait, wasn't he married like last week? Desiree's perfect smile faltered slightly as she tried to keep up with the comments. Oh, that's all just boring legal stuff. We're focusing on the future, right, babe? Quentin appeared in the frame, looking significantly less polished than usual. Desiree, maybe we should wait on the renovation plans. But you promised. Her voice took on a whiny edge. You said once the old furniture was gone. Stream ended, Gianna announced as the screen went black. Trouble in paradise already. My phone lit up with another message from Lincoln. They're trying to file an emergency injunction. Want to tell them about the back taxes they owe on the property they've been occupying without a lease. I smiled, remembering all those documents I'd carefully filed away. Give them the full bill, every penny, including interest and penalties, especially those. I stood up, gathering my things. Time to show them exactly what they're dealing with. Where are you going? Gianna asked. To watch my house. I have a feeling they're about to do something stupid. And I wanted front row seats when they did. Gianna's article dropped at exactly 9 a.m., The Dark Side of Success, When Ambition Destroys Marriages. No names mentioned, but anyone who knew us would recognize the story. I read it from my hotel room while watching the security camera feed from my house. My phone rang almost immediately. Have you seen this? Stella's voice was shrill. This is slander. Hard to be slander when it's all true, I replied calmly, and there are no names mentioned. Everyone knows it's about Quentin. His office is getting calls. I watched the security feed as a moving truck pulled up to my house. Speaking of Quentin, why are there movers at my property without my authorization? Silence on the line. Stella, you might want to tell them to stop. That's breaking and entering now. She hung up. On screen, I watched Sonia rush out to stop the moving truck while frantically dialing her phone, probably calling their lawyer again. My own phone buzzed with a text from Lincoln. Their lawyer just called. They're claiming adverse possession. I actually laughed out loud. Tell them to check the property tax records, every payment made from my personal account. While waiting for the fallout, I scrolled through social media. Desiree had been busy, posting filtered photos of herself redesigning my house. The comments were getting increasingly hostile. Isn't this the house that other woman built? Way to move in on a married man. Gold digger alert. Desiree's response was to post a tearful story about haters and jealous people who don't understand true love. She tagged Quentin, who hadn't responded. Around noon, a massive bouquet arrived at my hotel room, no card. I called the florist. Oh yes, the clerk said cheerfully. Mr. Quentin ordered those, said to tell you he's ready to negotiate. I sent the flowers back with a note. Negotiations closed. Eviction proceeds as planned. Then I ordered 3 identical bouquets sent to their lawyer's office, each with cards reading, "Thank you for your continued cooperation in the eviction proceedings." Gianna called mid-afternoon. You're trending locally. Quentin's company is getting hammered on social media. Someone leaked that he's dating an influencer half his age while evicting his wife. I didn't leak that, I pointed out. No, but Desiree's posts did. She's not exactly subtle. Gianna paused. Oh, and your mother-in-law just tried to have me fired. Tried? My editor laughed her out of the building. Apparently, she's been calling everyone who might have influence, trying to suppress the story. It's only making more people interested. I checked my security feed again. Sonia was pacing in my driveway, gesturing wildly while on the phone. Trevor had shown up and was arguing with Quentin on the front lawn. They're turning on each other, I observed. That's what happens when you build relationships on status instead of loyalty, Gianna said. Speaking of status, Quentin's company just released a statement. She sent me the link. We are aware of the personal matters involving our executive team and are handling them internally. We remind the public that private legal disputes should remain private. My phone buzzed with another text from Lincoln. They're offering double the property value. Not for sale, I replied. Triple? The house isn't for sale at any price, but they're welcome to rent it at market value plus damages. I watched through the security camera as Lincoln's latest message was delivered. Quentin opened it right there on my front lawn. His face went pale. What did you send him? I asked Lincoln. The bill for 3 years of unpaid rent, plus penalties for unauthorized occupancy and attempted property modifications. Just over $2 million. On screen, Trevor grabbed the paper from Quentin's hands. His mouth fell open. How long do they have to pay? I asked. 48 hours, or we proceed with formal eviction and property seizure. Sonia was reading the paper now, her face turning an alarming shade of red. She started jabbing her finger at Quentin's chest. I turned up the volume on the security feed just in time to hear her scream. You signed this without reading it. What kind of idiot are you? Mother, please, Quentin tried to calm her. We can figure this out. Figure it out. She owns everything. The land, the house, even the improvements we made. How do you figure out $2 million in 2 days? Trevor threw up his hands. I told you this was a bad idea, but no, you had to push him to upgrade to someone more suitable. Well, look where that got us. My phone lit up with a text from Quentin. Can we talk? Please, just us. I watched him on screen, standing in my driveway looking lost while his family imploded around him. No, I texted back, but you can start packing. The private dining room at Leblanc was quiet enough to hear a pin drop. Quentin sat across from me, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His usually perfect suit was slightly wrinkled, and his designer watch was missing, probably pawned in a desperate attempt to raise funds. You look terrible, I observed, sipping my water. $2 million, Alina? That's insane. Market rate for the property, plus penalties, plus interest. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. All itemised, all legal. He flipped through the pages, his face growing paler. The structural modifications. You mean the ones Desiree announced on Instagram before getting proper permits? Yes, those added quite a bit to the total. She didn't know that it wasn't your house to renovate. Clearly. The waiter appeared. I ordered the most expensive item on the menu. Quentin just asked for coffee. Mother's furious, he said after the waiter left. She's talking about suing you for emotional distress. I actually laughed. Please encourage her. I'd love to countersue for harassment. Stella and Trevor aren't speaking to either of us. They're saying we ruined the family's reputation. Funny how quickly family loyalty crumbles when money's involved. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and winced. Desiree's not happy either. She thought that she was getting a ready-made luxury lifestyle. I finished for him. Instead, she got a man who can't even afford his coffee right now. I can still pay for coffee, he snapped, then deflated. But the company, they're putting me on administrative leave. Something about public relations concerns. Karma's interesting that way. He leaned forward, desperate now. Look, I know I handled this badly. Badly? I cut him off. You let your mother orchestrate throwing me out of my own house so you could move in your Instagram model girlfriend. Badly doesn't begin to cover it. I'll make it right. Just tell me what you want. Name your price. My lunch arrived. Wagyu beef that cost more than Quentin probably had in his account right now. I cut into it slowly, savouring the moment. What I want, I said carefully, is for you to understand exactly what you threw away. Not just me, but everything I built while you were too busy climbing the corporate ladder to notice. The house is just a symbol. Every detail in that house, every fixture, every design choice, I made it while you were ignoring me. I built our life while you planned to replace me. His phone buzzed again. This time I caught Desiree's name on the screen before he turned it face down. She's moving out, he admitted. Says she can't handle the drama. No trust fund baby wants a boyfriend who can't afford her lifestyle, I agreed, especially one who's about to be evicted. About that, he pulled out a wrinkled document. Mother found an investor. We can pay the $2 million, but we need more time. I held up my hand. The deadline stands, 48 hours, or we proceed with eviction. Be reasonable. I'm being reasonable. I could have had you arrested for attempting unauthorized renovations. Instead, I'm giving you time to leave gracefully. His face hardened. You planned this, all of it. The land trust, the contracts, everything. Oh, Quentin, I just protected myself while you were busy protecting your ego. I dabbed my lips with the napkin. Your mother taught me that, actually. All those years of watching her manipulate everyone around her, I learned a lot. So this is revenge? This is consequences. You chose status over loyalty. Now you get to experience life without either. His phone buzzed a third time. He checked it and went pale. Problem? Desiree, she just posted about finding evidence of your premeditated financial trap in the house. She's threatening to expose you. I smiled and pulled out my own phone, showing him the cease and desist letter Lincoln had already prepared. You mean the evidence she obtained by breaking and entering? The evidence she just admitted to stealing on social media? Quentin put his head in his hands. When did you become so calculated, strategic, or just unwilling to be discarded? I stood up, dropping my napkin on the table. Check's on you. Consider it the first installment of what you owe me. Alina, please. 48 hours, Quentin. And tell Desiree that if she posts one more thing about me or my house, she'll be hearing from my lawyers next. I walked out, leaving him with the bill he couldn't afford and the realization that he'd underestimated me for the last time. The moving trucks arrived exactly 48 hours later. I sat in my parked car across the street, watching the chaos unfold through my windshield. Sonia was directing the movers like a general commanding troops, while Stella supervised the packing of what she claimed were family heirlooms. My phone buzzed with a text from Lincoln. Want me to verify they're not taking anything that belongs to the house? Already handled, I replied, watching my hired inventory specialist photograph every item being removed. Where's Quentin? Still trying to get an emergency court hearing. Judge denied it 10 minutes ago. A sleek red convertible screeched to a halt in front of the house. Desiree jumped out, designer sunglasses barely hiding her tear-streaked makeup. You can't just leave, she screamed at the house. We had plans. What about my influencer house tour series? Quentin emerged from the garage carrying a box of his belongings. Not now, Desiree. Not now? I turned down a sponsored trip to Bali for this. My followers were counting on seeing the renovation. I rolled down my window slightly to hear better. There is no renovation, Quentin snapped. There's no house. There's no money. It's over. Over? Desiree's voice hit a pitch that probably disturbed local dogs. What do you mean over? He means, Sonia cut in, that thanks to his ex-wife's manipulative scheme, we're all being evicted, and he's being suspended from work. Happy now, Desiree? Is this enough drama for your precious followers?" Desiree ripped off her sunglasses. "Suspended? But what about the country club membership you promised? The summer house in the Hamptons?" I couldn't help but laugh. The sound carried just far enough to make them all turn toward my car. Desiree spotted me first. "You!" She started marching across the street. I stepped out of my car, Lincoln's cease and desist letter ready in my hand. "Careful. You're already facing potential charges for the items you removed from my house without permission." She stopped short. "Your house? This was supposed to be my house, my big break." "Desiree," Quentin called weakly, "please don't make this worse." "Ooh, worse?" She whirled on him. "You told me you were divorced. You said this was our fresh start." "Actually," I interjected, "we're not divorced yet. He never filed the papers." I smiled at Quentin. Funny oversight for someone so eager to upgrade, don't you think? Sonia dropped the vase she was carrying. It shattered on the driveway, the same driveway where she'd told me I wasn't good enough for her son. "You mean," she sputtered, "this whole time?" "Legally, I'm still your daughter-in-law," I confirmed. "Not that it matters now." Desiree let out a sound between a scream and a sob. "I can't believe this. I've been living with a married man. Do you know what this will do to my brand?" She stormed back to her car, phone already in hand, presumably to damage control her social media. The convertible peeled away, leaving black marks on the street. "Well," Trevor emerged from the house carrying his own box, "that's the last of my stuff. Good luck with whatever this is." "Where are you going?" Sonia demanded. "Away from this mess. I've got a job interview in Seattle next week." He looked at me. "Nice play, Alina. Guess we should have read those contracts after all." Stella appeared next, her perfect makeup finally showing cracks. "Mother, the movers need your credit card for the additional hours." "What? But Quentin was supposed to—" "I can't," Quentin interrupted. "All my accounts are frozen pending the company investigation." I checked my watch. "You have 30 minutes before I call the police to remove any remaining trespassers." "You were always smarter than me, weren't you?" Quentin said quietly. "No," I replied. "I was just never as selfish as you." One by one, they loaded into their separate cars. Sonia was still muttering about lawyers. Stella was on the phone with her husband, probably begging for money. Trevor had already disappeared. Finally, only Quentin remained, standing in the driveway looking lost. "The divorce papers will be delivered tomorrow," I told him. "Don't worry, I'm not asking for alimony. The house is enough." "I really loved you once," he said. "No, you loved what I could do for you. There's a difference." He nodded slowly, picked up his last box and walked to his car. In the end, that's all it took. One box to pack away 12 years of marriage. I waited until they were all gone before walking up to my front door. The key slid into the lock smoothly, like coming home after a long trip. Inside, the house was a mess of moving debris and abandoned packing materials. But it was mine, all mine. Time to redecorate. "The master bathroom needs to be completely gutted," I told the contractor, stepping over the remains of Desiree's attempted renovation. "And that awful gold paint she started needs to go." Mike, the same contractor who'd built the house, whistled at the damage. "They really tried to work without permits, huh?" "They really did." I handed him a folder of designs. "Think we can fix it in 3 weeks?" "For you? Absolutely. Though I got to ask, what's the rush?" I smiled. "It's going on the rental market. High-end, short-term luxury stays." My phone buzzed, Gianna calling. "Turn on Channel 8 News right now." I pulled up the stream on my phone, Mike peering over my shoulder. The headline scrolled across the bottom. "Local executive faces investigation over property dispute." The reporter stood outside Quentin's company headquarters. Sources say the suspension comes after allegations of unauthorized use of company resources to facilitate personal real estate transactions. This follows viral social media posts by his girlfriend, influencer Desiree Stevens, alleging fraudulent property claims. "Oh dear," I said, not feeling sorry at all. "Seems Desiree's revenge posts backfired." "That's not all," Gianna sounded gleeful. "Guess who's suing each other?" "Who?" "Trevor filed a lawsuit against Stella, claiming she stole family heirlooms during the move. Stella countersued, saying Trevor took their grandmother's jewelry. And they're both suing Sonia for apparently promising each of them the same vacation property in Florida." Mike shook his head. "Rich folks sure know how to implode." "The best part," Gianna continued, "Sonia doesn't even own that Florida property. It belongs to their aunt, who's now suing all of them for harassment." My phone beeped with another call. "Lincoln?" "Hold on," I told Gianna, switching lines. "What's up?" "You'll never guess who just tried to claim ownership of your house through a shell company." "Sonia." "Close. Quentin. Apparently, he took out loans using company collateral, claiming he owned the property. That's what triggered the investigation." I sat down on the stairs, laughing. He really never learned to read contracts, did he? "No. Oh, and remember that investor they found? Turns out it was Trevor, promising money he didn't have. The bank's now investigating all of them for attempted fraud." Mike was still examining the bathroom disaster. "Want to hear something funny? That gold paint they used? It's not even real gold leaf. It's cheap spray paint that's probably toxic." "Perfect metaphor," I mused. "All flash, no substance." My phone buzzed again. An email from a women's investment group. They wanted me to speak at their next conference about property rights and financial independence. "Lincoln," I said, "remember how my grandmother always said, 'Knowledge is power'?" "Hard to forget. She made me promise to teach you everything I knew about property law. Think it's time to pass that knowledge on?" "Speaking circuit could be interesting, especially with how viral your story's gone." I looked around what used to be my marital home, seeing it with new eyes. "Schedule the speaking engagement, but first, let's make this place truly mine." Over the next few weeks, I watched my house transform. The gaudy additions were stripped away, replaced with clean lines and quality materials. Every change felt like erasing another memory of betrayal. Gianna kept me updated on the fallout. Desiree's influencer career imploded after her followers discovered she'd been living in a married man's house. Quentin's company fired him after the loan scandal broke. Sonia had to sell her own house to cover legal fees from all the lawsuits. "Karma's really going all out," Gianna said over coffee one morning. "Did you hear about Stella?" "What now?" "Her husband's divorcing her. Apparently, all this drama made him realize she's just like her mother." I stirred my coffee thoughtfully. You know what the crazy part is? None of this would have happened if they'd just treated me with basic respect. Speaking of respect, she slid a magazine across the table. "Your story's inspired quite a movement. Women are checking their property rights, updating contracts." The article's headline read, "The House She Built, How One Woman's Story Sparked a Financial Independence Revolution." My phone lit up with a text from Lincoln. "Final paperwork filed. The house is now officially registered to your new company. Want to hear the best part?" "What's that?" "Your first booking? It's for a women's empowerment retreat. They specifically chose your house because of its story." I looked at the magazine, then at my phone, thinking of my grandmother's wooden box of documents that started it all. "Book them," I replied, "and send them a welcome basket. Something that says, 'Build your own foundation.' After all, every woman should know how to protect what's hers." The autumn breeze carried the sound of laughter through my open windows as I finished arranging fresh flowers in the foyer. My first retreat group would arrive in an hour, and everything had to be perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from Gianna. Turn on the local news now. I clicked on the TV just in time to see Sonia being escorted from her country club, her membership card cut in half. The caption read, "Local socialite banned after payment dispute." Guess she couldn't afford the dues anymore, I murmured, straightening a throw pillow. The doorbell rang. Lincoln stood there, holding a thick envelope and grinning. Special delivery. More legal documents? I stepped aside to let him in. Better, remember that shell company Quentin tried to use to claim ownership of the house? He pulled out several papers. It just got seized by the bank, and guess who they're selling the assets to? I raised an eyebrow. You, at pennies on the dollar. Apparently your story impressed some people in their executive board. Karma really does have a sense of humour, I said, just as my phone rang, unknown number. Alina? Stella's voice was barely recognisable. I need your help. I put the phone on speaker. That's unexpected. My husband, he's doing to me what we did to you. His mother wants me out, says I'm not good enough anymore. She choked back a sob. You were right, about everything. And? Would you teach me how to protect myself? I shared a look with Lincoln. Come to my first retreat. Learn with everyone else. I can't afford. Consider it Karma's payment plan, I interrupted. But Stella, this time, pay attention to the fine print. After she hung up, Lincoln handed me one last document. Speaking of Karma, Desiree's being sued by her sponsors for breach of contract. Apparently, living with a married man violated their morality clauses. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Mike the contractor carrying a small package. Found this behind the wall when we were fixing the bathroom, he said. Thought you should have it. Inside was my grandmother's old journal, which I'd thought lost during the move-in years ago. A bookmark stuck out from the middle, a handwritten note in her elegant script. Dear Alina, if you're reading this, you've finally taken back what's yours. I always knew you would. Power isn't about control, it's about preparation. Love, Grandma. Lincoln picked up his briefcase. Ready for your first group? Almost. I walked to the kitchen, where a row of gift baskets waited. Each contained a leather-bound notebook, a copy of Property Law Basics, and a small wooden box, just like my grandmother's. Teaching them your secrets? He asked. Teaching them their power, I corrected. A final text buzzed through. Quentin, I heard you're helping Stella. After everything we did. I typed back. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about breaking the cycle. Then I blocked his number. Cars started pulling up outside, women arriving for the retreat. Through the window, I watched them step out, looking up at my house with hope and determination in their eyes. Miss your grandmother? Lincoln asked softly. Every day? I picked up her journal. But I think she'd be proud, not of the revenge, but of what you built from it, he finished. The doorbell chimed one last time. This time it was Gianna carrying a stack of folders. Registration forms? I asked. Better? Letters? From women who read your story? They're asking for more retreats, more workshops. She spread them across the kitchen island. You started something bigger than revenge, Alina. You started a revolution. I picked up one letter, reading the desperate words of another woman facing what I'd faced. Then another, and another. You know what the best revenge is? I said, gathering the welcome baskets. Teaching others how to avoid needing it in the first place. The front door opened as the first guests entered, their voices filling my house with new energy, new purpose. Stella slipped in last, looking smaller without her designer clothes and attitude. I handed her a basket. Welcome to your foundation. She looked confused. I thought this was about property law. It is. I opened my grandmother's journal to the first page. But first, we build ourselves, then we build our houses, then we build our futures. the room filled with women ready to learn, to grow, to protect themselves. My house, once a symbol of betrayal, transformed into a beacon of empowerment. I touched the journal's worn cover one last time before addressing the group. Ladies, welcome to the house she built. Let's begin.